Donald Trump is making more 1 a.m. posts. He's repeatedly saying mistrial on his social media platform, despite the fact that it's just been utterly debunked that this self-professed shit poster, that's what the person refers to themselves as, that they were the ones just posting on the New York court's website saying that they have a cousin who's on the jury and they were doing that to provoke a reaction. And even though we know that this was just some unhinged, malicious prankster, MAGA is going all in on the jury is rigged and there needs to be an investigation and what's going on. And so that's what Donald Trump's been posting. He goes, mistrial. And as I said, this post was at a little later than 1 a.m. Then Donald Trump also reposted a far right-wing propagandist, Jack Posobiec, who said, breaking, Judge Merchan notifies the parties in New York City that this Facebook post was made on the court's website. And if anything, doesn't this just show that Justice Merchan is fair and impartial and is always being transparent? I mean, I think it's debatable that Justice Merchan should have even had to notify the party, since it was so obvious that the post in question was a prank. I mean, when the person's account was self-professed shit poster, it's obvious that you take a look at the account, you take a look at the fact that the person's photograph is actually Gigi Allen, a deceased musician who would do gross things on stage and who'd been arrested. It's obviously a prank, and the person had repeatedly made posts like that over and over again. And so it's every time some prankster goes, oh, my cousin said this or that, that becomes a thing. In MAGA world, that makes sense to them. Oh, by the way, if you actually start looking at some of the other posts by that individual, the person seems to obviously be a MAGA person. But that's what Trump posts over and over again. By the way, one of the things that the MAGA Republicans are having their kids use now in the summer that they're posting and that we're seeing are these bizarre Trump flotation devices, which I think is also for sale at the MAGA store. I mean, just think about this is not normal stuff. This is not normal politics. This is very strange. As Peter Henline, the account called Peter Henline says, he's a Republican. He's a DeSantis supporter, actually. He goes, so Trump is still pushing the Facebook post from the cousin as being the reason for a mistrial 18 hours after the entire thing has been revealed to be a joke. That's because he knows that the conservative media won't show the profile or the other post from that cousin that reveals that the person was just doing a malicious prank. Also, Trump then has his kind of right-wing surrogates like Laura Loomer making the same post over and over, despite the fact that we all know it to be false. It's the same thing they're doing with that Dinesh Souza 2000 Mules. They push it, they lie over and over again. You saw that the producer Salem Media had to issue a retraction recently and made it clear that it was all a lie, and that and they had to issue actually and apologize because a lawsuit was filed, because all they do is lie. Here's one of the other late night posts that Donald Trump's been making. He goes, low insulin pricing was gotten from, by the way, just think about how he's writing, was gotten. Low insulin pricing was gotten for millions of Americans by me and the Trump administration, not by crooked Joe Biden. He had nothing to do with it. It was all done long before he so sadly entered office. All he does is try to take credit for things done by others, in this case, me. And as you know, everything with Donald Trump is projection. Donald Trump tries to take credit for everything that Obama did, everything that Biden did. And it's just so desperate and delusional. I mean, I'm glad the Biden campaign responded here, and this is what the Biden campaign wrote. A desperate and delusional Trump tries to take credit for President Biden's historic, law lowering insulin costs. Fact check. This is a blatant lie. Trump did not cap insulin costs. President Biden did for seniors through the Inflation Reduction Act. Trump's Project 2025 wants to repeal it, which would raise insulin costs for over 1 million Americans. Remember when Donald Trump would talk about infrastructure, he would say, just 2 weeks away. It's just coming in 2 weeks. Remember when Donald Trump would talk about his healthcare plan? Oh, it's going to be bigger and better than Obamacare. Just give me 2 weeks. I'm going to roll it out. I'm going to give you a plan. And then he never does because he is a con artist, just to show you, to remind you what he would say when he was in office. Don't worry, I'm rolling out the healthcare plan. And then there was never a plan that was actually delivered. And then remember when he was like interviewed as well, I think it was for 60 Minutes, he had Kayleigh McEnany show like what his healthcare plan was, and it was like a binder of 800 blank pages, so it looked like that he was having a big binder. Then they went through it and saw that it was quite literally nothing in it. Anyway, let me just show you this clip to remind you of what Trump would say. Play this clip.
You see the plans we have coming out literally over the next 4 weeks. We have great healthcare plans coming out, and we're going to be announcing healthcare, another form of healthcare, in about 2 weeks, and it's going to be very exceptional.
You've been in office 3.5 years. You don't have a plan.
Well, we haven't had. Excuse me. You heard me yesterday. We're signing a healthcare plan within 2 weeks, a full and complete healthcare plan. And nobody will have done what I'm doing in the next 4 weeks.
You're arguing in the Supreme Court right now to strike it down. That would do away with pre-existing conditions.
So that we can do new health care.
But you've been promising a new health care plan. I interviewed you in June of last year. You said the health care plan would come in 2 weeks. You told Chris Wallace that this summer it would come in 3 weeks. You promised an executive order on pre-existing.
I have it already.
But you've been trying to strike down pre-existing conditions.
I have it already, and it's a much better plan for you, and it's a much better plan.
Then one of the other things that Donald Trump posted as well was, so there's a concert going on in a kind of red area in Florida, which Florida is pretty red right now, although the recent Fox poll actually shows President Biden only down by like 4 in Florida. I love that the corporate media and right-wing media doesn't want to talk about that Fox poll that shows Biden within 4 in Florida. But okay, so be it. So there's a concert taking place right there over the weekend. And there's a big crowd because the crowd wants to see a rock concert. So there's a MAGA sheriff in the county in this area in Florida where this concert was. So the MAGA sheriff has a MAGA Republican congresswoman go on stage, and then she starts turning this rock concert into like a political thing. And so she first starts saying like, everybody, let's talk about Donald Trump. It's like people are there for a concert. And then people weren't all that enthusiastic. I mean, there were some people who were chanting for Trump there. And then so she quickly pivoted and then did like a USA chant, USA, USA. So then the whole crowd, of course, I mean, you know, when you lead a chant at a rock concert, USA, they started saying that. So then Donald Trump thanked the crowd as though that crowd was there for him, which it was not. And that's one of the things that Trump does over and over again because he can't draw the types of crowds that he used to. So he has people in his kind of MAGA surrogates, MAGA Congress members, or even himself. He'll go to locations like a NASCAR event or a college football game or whatever, and then he'll take photos by the audience so it looks like there's a big crowd behind him, and sometimes he'll like wave to it. In this case, he wasn't even there, but they pretended like he tried to almost pretend like he was there and that crowd was there for him. And then Trump just continued to post throughout the evening and into the morning. It's just all whining over and over again about the trial, that it's rigged. And then he posts this, irrefutable proof that the deep state stole the 2020 election. I mean, the thing that I just don't get, folks, is there's a lot I don't get. But the whining. The fact that this whole movement is just based on like crying and whining and blaming everybody else for everything and that everything is rigged. It's so strange to observe here in the United States of America. Let's talk about President Biden, though, for a moment. We learned at the end of last week what Biden's campaign's posting as well, a jobs report blowing past expectations, displaying resilient strength of the U.S. economy. Let me just show you the moment where they even had to admit it on Fox. Play this clip.
This is something. 272,000.
Nancy Lazar was right. She was right.
She was right.
272,000. Everybody, the estimate was 185,000. And by the way, that blows even the top of the range from economists going in. The range was 120 to 258, and we came in at 272.
Yep, 272,000 new jobs created when the estimate was 180,000. Also, a $2.99 gallon of gas is making a comeback right now. It's back in the top 5 most common gas prices in the U.S. at 5th. It will likely continue pushing toward that spot. The national average continues to decline and stands at $3.43 a gallon. Also, it should be noted, the Biden campaign is pointing this out as well. Daniel Wessels, I think, with the Biden campaign. This is what Donald Trump is seeing as he arrives in Las Vegas, Nevada. Donald Trump is holding a Las Vegas event outside because at a public park because, well, I know Trump's raised all this money, he says, but he needs to do it in like a public park there. The temperature is expected to be over 105 degrees when he gives this speech, and so can't we all pretty much predict that it's going to be there are going to be major health issues there? It should be obvious, but Donald Trump doesn't care about that at all. But here's what the Las Vegas Sun says. It says, union workers urge voters to remember Trump's actions, not his words. Donald Trump was quite literally the worst president in history on basically everything, but he gutted unions. He appointed people to the National Labor Relations Board who are anti-union. He was, in terms of just the ability of union people to get the benefits that made them want to be in the union, Trump's against that. But what he does is he'll go and say, no, I'm for you, I'm with you, trust me, I'm with you, they're not with you, because his words are empty. And he just figures, look, the media is not going to actually talk about my conduct. Everything's confusing, and just let the media just kind of both sides the issue. Anyway, President Biden also posts, on my watch, 15.6 million more Americans have the dignity and respect that comes with a job. President Biden posts, Republicans led by Donald Trump are threatening access to abortion, contraception, and IVF. It's at odds with the majority of Americans. Vice President Kamala Harris and I will continue to fight to protect access to reproductive health care. And then let me just show you this post that President Biden made. I'll keep fighting to strengthen the Affordable Care Act so grandparents can be around longer for their grandkids. It's a very touching moment. It just goes to show you, I think, who President Biden is. Let's play the clip right here.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
What's your name?
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
I wanted to thank you for Obamacare. I'm 14 years cancer free. I looked at the payment. 9 rounds of chemo was $7,500. 40 rounds of radiation was $1,200. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here. Thank you.
It's got another $800 for you too.
I'm here to take care of my grandkids.
And that's a kind of a quintessential Biden moment right there. And I just want to show you the contrast. Judge for yourself. Tell me what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. We're close. Let's get there together. Thanks for supporting the Midas Touch Network. Hit subscribe. It's free.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the Midas Touch newsletter at MidasTouch.com/newsletter.